Hey there guys, I hope you're doing really well. Today I wanted to review Fallet. It is a Swedish TV series that's now available on Netflix. Please note it's not a Netflix original. It was made by a small Swedish TV company, but it's now available on Netflix. It is 8 short episodes, 25 minutes each, so you could, if you really wanted to, actually watch this in a single evening. I'm not suggesting that you do that, but you could if you wanted. Fallet means the case, and this series is about 70% in Swedish and 30% in English because it concerns a cop who's been sent from London to the Swedish town of Norrbacka, basically as punishment because he's like super incompetent. Note that unlike most Netflix foreign language series, there are no dubbing options for this one, so if you're going to watch it, it does have to be in Swedish with English subtitles. If you're the sort of person who is bothered by that, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with you being bothered by subtitles, but if you're that kind of person, you probably wouldn't enjoy this series anyway, because this is definitely made for people who are well versed in the Nordic Noir genre. It's actually a parody. It's not a serious series. It's laughing with and at series like The Killing, The Bridge, Borgen, Wallander. So if you haven't seen at least some of those kinds of shows, you're probably not going to get what's going on here and you're just going to think it's really weird. I think these kinds of parodies are actually really hard to pull off in series form because parody is all based on setting up an expectation that is like other things you've seen and then completely subverting that expectation. And it's hard to do that after more than about one episode because then we, the audience, start to expect the subversion. But on the whole, I liked this series because it was light, it was fun, it knew what it was, it didn't try to be bigger than it was. If we compare it to, say, The Break, the Belgian-French one that I also reviewed, I will take Fallet any day because the story is equally well fleshed out, equally convincing, packed into a way shorter time frame, and actually knows that it's stupid. The Break was just as stupid, but it didn't know that. The actual case, in The Case, as it's called, is mildly interesting. I was wanting to know what happened, and there are still some elements at the end that are a bit unclear, but I think even that is actually a joke, because there are times that people are explaining what's going on to the cops, and the cops are like, oh, so you mean this is happening? And they're kind of like, no, what? How are you misunderstanding this? But that's the whole point. It's quite a confusing, involved case that we, the audience, never feel like we really understand, just like these shows. But I think the best jokes in this series are the ones that concern either Swedish culture or Nordic Noir, more specifically. So it's actually really beautifully shot. We get these repeated shots of slow flyovers of Norrbacka, this tiny village where it's set, and they're clearly ripping off that shot that we get over and over again in The Bridge and The Killing that go like that over Copenhagen or Malmo, both of which are like metropolises compared to this tiny little village. But it's actually a really beautiful village, so it's a send-up, but it's quite nice to watch at the same time. We also get a repeated shot of the main police officer, Sophie, driving her car over this tiny little bridge with nothing more than a stream running under it. And again, it's a beautiful shot, but it wasn't until I saw it for the second time that I realized this is their version of the shot we get over and over again in The Bridge of the Porsche driving over the Öresund bridge that joins Denmark and Sweden. It's a huge, majestic structure, and this cop is driving her tiny little car over this tiny little wall of a bridge with like a little creek running under it. Even the cop's car is the lame little brother of Sagan Noren's Porsche 911. It's maybe a 78 Saab or something like that. It's very attentive to detail in its spoofing of Nordic Noir, this series. It does also have some nods to American things like Breaking Bad and No Country for Old Men. In other words, it's made for people like me. It's very niche. It's made for people who are going to pick up on all these kinds of references, but especially people who are really into Nordic Noir. The Scandinavian culture stuff I also found quite funny. For example, my favourite character was a Finnish forensic pathologist who is just really weird and always says these super morbid things. And it's playing on this whole idea that Swedes think Finns are the weird ones. And even the Finnish lady herself acknowledges that she's really strange and comes from this weird land that no one understands. It's quite amusing. There is also this old Swedish cop who would normally play the kind of dinosaur role, except that he's really trying to step into this very modern egalitarian Sweden that now exists, except he doesn't really know how to do that because he clearly doesn't feel comfortable, so he always says these things that don't make sense. Guys, don't get me wrong, this series is far from mind-blowing. A bunch of the jokes just don't really catch, because scenes will find themselves in these awkward places between serious and comedic, and they end up not really being either. So it's not amazing by any means, but it's fine as long as you know what to expect. I think a lot of people probably didn't like this series because they went in expecting either The Bridge again or Hot Fuzz. But what it really is Hot Fuzz for people who really liked The Bridge. Additionally, it's so short. I mean, it's literally a sixth of the length of the first season of The Killing. I mean, if you're going to spend 19 hours watching the first season of The Killing, you might as well spend 3 watching this. At the end of the day, I totally recommend this one if you've seen what I guess you would call the source material, like The Bridge, The Killing in particular. If you haven't seen it, get onto that, guys. Like, The Bridge, the first 3 seasons, which are the best 3 seasons, are all on Netflix now, so totally get on to watching that. Also, thank you so much to my subscribers and people leaving positive comments. It really does help me feel encouraged to make more of these. Special thanks to Lyle Gork, I think I'm saying that correctly, I'm not sure where they're from, but they suggested Bordertown. It's a Finnish series. I will be watching that one soon, so I'll let you know when I have that review ready for you. Otherwise, wherever you are, whatever language you speak, I really hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time.